Well, good morning everyone and welcome to the show. Fernando?
Welcome to the show.
There you go. Today we have something fun. We have a Chevy Impala in. That doesn't matter though. What we're gonna be playing with today is the new Kicker KeyLoc. And for those of you that don't know what that is, well, stay tuned and we're gonna tell you all about it. This little box here is the Kicker KeyLoc. And for those of you unfamiliar with the key technology, it's technology that Kicker came out with that looks at signals coming out of factory radios, DEQs them, restores them, and gets them back to a usable signal that the aftermarket can use for amplifying and re-EQing. LOC is a line output converter. This is key technology on a line output converter. And it's this little guy right here. There's a bunch of special things about this. This isn't just an ordinary line output converter. And we're going to show you how all this stuff works. And it's going to make this Impala sound amazing. In the box, however, is the main unit, top piece of foam, a warning for tech support, a quick start guide, it's just one little half sheet of paper, and the power harness. On the top of the box is a QR code. For those of you unfamiliar with QR codes, grab your phone, launch the camera, scan the QR code, click it, and it'll automatically take you out to the latest owner's manual for this particular product. You'll notice here it says compliant with stop-start technology. So any of you guys that has stop-start vehicles know that anything key related, whether it be the amplifiers or this line output converter, will work in a stop-start vehicle. They won't cut off or anything like that. They're designed to work at low voltage. Now let's take a closer look at the KeyLoc. Looking at it, it just looks like a cool standard high level to low. It has speakers here, it has RCAs here, it's got some dials on the top, but it's got all these little lights, these guys that are like, what could those possibly be for? One says EQ, one says high, mid, low, and power. That's kind of strange. What this has built into it right off the start is an RTA, a real-time analyzer. And it is designed to be connected into the system, play pink noise, which they give you a link to download here in the instruction manual, this little blue area. If you tap on that, it'll take you to the audio downloads for the amplifier. There are a couple that you're going to need, so make sure you head over and do that. Playing that pink noise will light up these three lights and tell you if you have the signal there for it to pass out to the sub-amp. So for example, if you tap into a door speaker and you're going to be hooking up a subwoofer, if the low light doesn't turn on, then there's not enough sub signal there for you to amplify it. That would be a bad speaker to connect to. The frequency range that these are looking for is the low is looking for between 20 and 200 hertz because it can fix anything below 200 hertz. The mid is 200 to 2K, and the high is 2K to 20K. As long as there's signal between those ranges, the DEQing circuit inside of this can bring that back. EQ is for once we get it put into the car, and we run the key mode for de-equalization, which is this little button right here. And then on this side is your high level or low level switch. In this case, we will be going high level. This also has DC offset built into it. They'll use the speaker wires to generate a turn on and an output turn on to go to our amplifier to turn that on. Let's look at the plug and we'll kind of talk about that more. It uses standard colors that we always use in 12 volts. You have yellow, red, black, blue, a pair of whites, and a pair of grays. Most of them do exactly what you'd think they do. Yellow is constant 12 volts, black is ground, blue is a remote turn on output. Red is the one that's unique. It's not an accessory. It can be hooked up to accessory, but what it's looking for is this is the remote input. However, if we're using the DC offset, we don't have to connect this wire. We just have to make sure we connect the speaker wires here, and that is going to generate our remote turn on. On the top of the unit, we also have a input gain control and an output gain control, which we'll be setting up also. On this Impala, it has the basic amplified system, meaning that the speakers here on the bottom of the door are actually subwoofers. The mid-range and treble all come from this dash location here, and then the rear doors are located here in the back doors, and they are just a full range driver. It has the smaller touchscreen in the dash, but located here in the trunk where we've been testing, this guy here behind this panel is a amplifier. This is the basic system. It's non-Bose, it's non-badged. You have to test for these things. There's actually nothing behind the radio that we need at all. The nice thing about that is that PAC makes a harness for that. It is the APH GM02 harness. This one is the one we want though. This particular harness plugs into the amplifier, and then the factory will plug into this. And off of this we have our speaker wires and a power and ground. The plan is to connect this power and ground to here, connect these speaker wires all back together, because we have to leave the 6x9s playing in the door. Even though it's a subwoofer, it is the lower end driver in the front. If we just left them disconnected, it would sound terrible. We're not going to do that. We are going to just tee these wires in to get our signal. First, what we want to do is we want to use this RTA to make sure that it's even a usable signal. Though we know it's a subwoofer because we've put our ear to it and we can hear it play bass, we want to make sure, because not every situation is going to be perfect. Even if you know, always test. We'll also test the high frequency output drivers just to show you how this works. So if you were to grab the wrong speaker wire, we'll give you an example of that. Let's head into the trunk and have some fun. The first step is to get the T-harness plugged into the amplifier, which we've done. Now it didn't fit perfect. It's designed for the Bose system, so the plugs are a little different. There was just one little tooth on the harness that was off to the inside about a 1/16 of an inch that needed to be trimmed off on both the one that plugs into the amp and this, and then it went right in. No issues there. The pins were all in the same spot. Always make sure that the pins are where they need to be. Constant 12 volts is here, constant 12 volts is on the other side, ground, and then the speakers all matched up the same as well. Next is to connect our constant 12 volts and ground to our key harness, as well as both speaker wires. So we have the pair of whites, we have the pair of grays. Hook them both up to the outputs of the amplifier. Once that's done, we can plug in the KeyLoc. Make sure you've downloaded the pink noise track, turn on the radio, and start playing the pink noise track. The power light should come on at this point. If the power light doesn't come on, that means you might not have DC offset coming from the amplifier. To test for that is simple enough. Take your digital multimeter like we have here, take your positive and negative test leads, connect the negative test lead to ground, which we can grab at the amplifier, and then grab either the positive or negative speaker wire and attach your other lead to it. Here we can see we have close to 6 volts coming in. That means we do have DC offset. If we didn't see this, then that would mean we don't have DC offset, and we'll have to connect this red wire to an actual turn on of some kind. Since we have the voltmeter sitting right here, let's also test our blue wire, which has a remote output, to make sure that we are getting remote out and we are getting a close to 12 volt output. So this will be to turn on our amplifiers. The green power light is on. In the instructions, what it wants you to do now is turn up your input sensitivity till you start to see the RTA lights come on. Start doing that. The first blue light for low frequency comes on. If we keep turning, we see that it plays up into the mid-range. That tells us that the speaker we've tapped into is good for low pass and up into a mid-range, but we're having to turn the input sensitivity all the way up, so I would just stick with this is good enough for the low-level input. The key is now connected to the 2 dash speakers, which is like a 3.5. Let's see what the signal looks like on this. We'll turn up our input sensitivity again. The highlight comes on, and if we keep going, we get both mid and high, but no sub, which would make sense considering we have the sub output. That means if we were to accidentally grab this output to power our subwoofers, there would be no bass coming out of it. When turning up, the light that highlights first, so like in the sub, the low pass frequency light turned on first, and as we kept going, the mid turned on. Whichever light turns on first, it's going to be more geared towards that output. In this case, that mid, because we were having to turn it all the way up, it would be there, but it's a stretch. It's really not the best signal to be using if we were trying to get mid-range. On the front, it was the opposite. The high would light up first, then the mid would come on. That dash speaker, though it will play mid, it doesn't have a lot. With the rears connected, let's turn it up. And at the same time, both the high and mid light up. That means this channel will be great for a mid-range and up signal. If we keep turning, however, we'll notice that the low frequency light comes on, but it's blinking. That means it does have that low frequency. It's really not best to tap in for a subwoofer. You could use it in a pinch, know that it's gonna have to do some heavy correction to get a good signal out of it. Now we know that the channel we're gonna tap into, the sub channel, is perfect for what we're trying to do. And at that point you think, well, if I have factory subwoofer, why do I need de-equalization and all that? We'll show you. Once you see the signal that's actually coming out of that amplifier, you'll understand why this piece is important. However, the most important thing that some of you guys have figured out is, wait a minute, it's a portable RTA that I can quickly connect to a speaker, play pink noise, and test. And you'd be right. You can use this as a tool to test any car, any application that you want to see if it has signal that you're trying to use. You can simply plug it into the cigarette lighter with something like this, extension cord, put an end on it, go into the kick panel or the door jamb or anything like that where you're planning on grabbing your speaker wires, connect the wires up, play pink noise, and see, hey, is this a good speaker to use? Is it lighting up the lights? If it's not, then don't use that speaker. So not only is it something you can put in a car, but if you just have one laying around on a bench per se, it's a pretty cool tool to have. Let's take a look at that factory sub signal on an RTA, and I'll show you what I mean by it still needs to be fixed. KeyLoc is connected, and the RTA is showing us that we have sub. That's cool. So that means that between 20 and 200 hertz, there's signal there that it can work with. But now let's look at the RTA. This is going to paint a little bit different picture as far as what this is actually putting out. If we were to move our cursor over to the high point here, we'll see that 100 hertz is our high point. And then we'll go back to those frequencies that we love, 50 hertz. That's about half. Go down to the tuning frequency of the box. It's about half that again. And as we go down, it has a very steep roll off. From about 100 hertz down, it just plummets to the floor. Well, that's all that good usable bass that we want to use. We need to level this out and possibly boost it up. The key will do that for us. In the end, we'll show you an after picture so we can come back and take a look at this and do a side-by-side comparison of what's going in and what's coming out. But if you were to just hook a standard high level to low level adapter up to this, 100 hertz is going to sound great. You're going to really have to cross that over your standard 80 hertz, and the signal on this side of 80 hertz is garbage. It's not going to be as big and boomy as we want. That's why the aftermarket radios are so popular. However, in this car, you're not going to be doing that. Fixing it is the better option. We've seen all the pre-work. We know we have a usable signal for our subwoofer because of the built-in RTA. We know that we didn't definitely want to tap into that dash speaker. That would have been terrible. And the rear speaker was okay. It's usable. We've actually seen what the signal looks like, and we know that the key will fix that because they tell us it will. I'm going to get this installed the rest of the way, and we'll go through the actual setup, see what it looks like after that. We found a nice place to mount the KeyLoc, attaching a piece of plastic to this factory bolt over here. This gives us easy access to the key switch, as well as both the input and output gain. Before we start, turn the input gain all the way back down, and make sure the output gain is down as well. We can start the KeyLoc sequence. Download yourself the instructions where you can have a look at them. Obviously, if this is your first time doing it, it's going to be a lot easier to have them. Verify that the input gain on the KeyLoc is turned all the way down. We did that. Set the source to 3/4 volume, more right before it starts clipping. If it's a factory radio, 3/4 volume is ideal. Press and hold the key button for 8 seconds. You will see the LEDs sweep 1 through 4 and then 4 through 1. Release the key button and LED 1 will light up. LEDs 2 through 4 will be off. Play the track Gain Match Sweep from the source unit. I've gone to Kicker's site and downloaded the KeyLoc test tracks to my desktop, and then I transferred them to my Dropbox account, and here they are on my phone in my Dropbox. I can now plug this into the radio and use the corresponding 3 tracks, gain match, noise floor, and full test to do my testing. Turn the KeyLoc input gain knob up, watching LEDs 3 and 4 until either start to blink. Turn the KeyLoc input gain knob down until both LEDs stop blinking. Wait for 10 seconds. Verify. LEDs have stopped blinking. Because what you're going to hear is you're going to hear a sound go, because it's not a sustained 40 hertz, because you don't want to blow your speakers, so they do a sweep. That's why you have to wait, because you have to wait till the sweep comes back around. When you're done with that, stop the gain match sweep track, play track noise floor. Just go ahead right in and play it. Press the KeyLoc button. LED 1 will begin to blink. When the noise floor is detected, LED 1 will stop blinking and LED 2 will start blinking. Play track full test. Now this is the 22-minute test track. Doesn't need it all, but that way something is happening the whole time. While the test track is running, you will see the LEDs progress from 1 to 4. It could take the full 22 minutes, but more than likely it's going to be done within 3 to 8 minutes. The LEDs will begin to flash once the KeyLoc has collected enough data processing the test results. The LED will sweep back and forth, just like KIT, when the algorithm has completed, and the audio will begin passing. So you'll hear the sound. press the key button to exit the mode. LED 4 will turn on to indicate the EQ correction is running. LED 1 through 3 will light up to indicate the available frequencies. EQ is on, and we only have low pass, which we knew. So over here on the left of both, here there's that roll off that we had, all that missing bass. And on this side, that's all been filled in, and this is leveled off. It's not peaky. You can amplify this and get a nice full sound out of it. If this was just a normal high level to low level adapter, it would look like this. And to demonstrate that, we can click the key button, which will shut off the equalization. And as you'll notice, all of that bass that we want is gone. Click it again, and it's back. Naturally, the indicator of success is playing it and hearing how it sounds, which we're gonna fast forward to being finished, let you guys hear some bass in this thing and see just how much better it is. And before we roll out dropping some bass, we're just gonna end the show there. If you wanna know more about the KeyLoc, make sure you head over to Kicker's webpage and check it out. I'll put a link to it in the description below so that you guys find it easily. I'll also put a link to those tracks if you want to download those and just listen and play with them. Some guys are into that kind of thing. Whatever works for you. And with that, Fernando.
On to the next one, guys.
You guys have a great night as always. We'll see you later next time.
Bye.
Bye. All right, drop some bass. Man, camera bass sucks.